This will be the second time I've recorded this video today. My wife and son were having a bit of an argument earlier, which I had to go resolve, and also ruined the audio, so we'll try this once more. Firearms collecting is expensive. I don't need to tell you that if you're involved. If you're not involved in the hobby, I do not recommend you getting started. But it doesn't have to be as expensive as some people make it. If you're into collecting, like foreign military firearms, you can use this little hack that I call the blank we have at home. For example, the Beretta ARX served as the HKG-36 I had at home, or at least it did until I sold it. But a rifle even better suited to the fill in the blank we have at home is the Gen 1 Galil ACE. Let me show you how this works. Let's say one of the rifles I've always wanted, that I will probably never own. The SIG 550 series. Foreign made, cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel, high quality manufacture, gray finish, aperture sights, 5.56 NATO chambering, long stroke action. The Galil ACE. It's the SIG 550 I have at home. Oh. What if I didn't want to spend the $4,000 or so it takes to get a SIG 550? What if I wanted the cheaper version, the SIG 5.56? Similar to the SIG 550, feeds from AR-15 magazines, has an AR-15 style adjustable stock. The Galil ACE. It's the SIG 5.56 I have at home. Arsenal SAM 5. Milled receiver, Kalashnikov action, 5.56 NATO chambering, import. The Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the Arsenal SAM 5 I have at home. What about, well, here's a great one. It's basically unobtainium in the United States, and that is the Russian Kalashnikov Concern AK-12, or its variants, the AK-15 or AK-19. Well, let's go with the AK-19, the 5.56 version. Modernized Kalashnikov, side folding adjusting stock, cold hammer forged barrel, 5.56 NATO chambering. The Galil ACE. It's the AK-19 I have at home. What if, and this is the original factory OEM handguard for the Gen 1 Galil ACE. It's kind of porky. It's really fat. It does a good job of insulating your hand from heat, but that's really about the only good thing I can say about it. I much prefer this aftermarket Midwest Industries Maglock, M-Lock grip. The FN-FNC. All metal construction, Kalashnikov action, 5.56 NATO chambering, not made in the Warsaw Pact, aperture sights, and this really cool sliding dust cover. The Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the FN-FNC I have at home. The Galil ACE Gen 2. Well, with this M-Lock handguard, well, you're most of the way there to a Gen 2 anyway. And you still keep the cool sights that the Gen 2 lacks, and the lightning cuts that the Gen 2 lacks. So, the Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the Galil ACE Gen 2 I have at home. You can go on and on like this. Let's think, see if there's any more examples I can come up with. Here's a wild one. The Beretta ARX 100. It's got some polymer construction, feeds from AR-15 magazines, does not feed from Magpul Gen 3 PMags, side folding adjustable stock, piston operation, cold hammer forged barrel, monolithic uprail. The Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the Beretta ARX 100 I have at home. Beretta AR-70 90. Feeds from AR-15 magazines, all metal construction, side folding stock, Kalashnikov derivative action. The Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the Beretta AR-70-90 I have at home. The classic Galil SAR. Israeli manufacturer, 5.56 NATO chambering, milled receiver, Kalashnikov action, side folding stock. The Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the Galil SAR I have at home. The Finnish Valmet series, M95, M62, whatever. Kalashnikov action. In that case, they were generally 7.62 by 39, which you could get this in 7.62 39 if you wanted, but in this case it's 5.56. Higher quality construction AK than you typically saw in the Warsaw Pact. The Galil ACE Gen 1. It's the Finnish Valmet M95 I have at home. You know, I'm being a little bit facetious here. This is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, of course, but there is definitely something to this, in my mind, you know, and of course, for my collection, my mind is all that really matters, and for your collection, your mind is all that really matters. If you've got one good, high-quality made 5.56 AK, or AK in whatever caliber you choose, they're really going to be similar to pretty much anything else, to most other high-quality 5.56 or 7.62 39 AKs. You know, some purist might say, no, there's a world of difference between an FNFNC and a Valmet and a Galil and a Galil ACE. Maybe. I doubt. But I know one thing. I will probably never know the difference, because this is the only one I'm ever going to get. And beyond collecting, you know, to my mind, the coolest thing about the Galil ACE is how similar it is to other cooler and rarer firearms. But it's a good rifle in its own right, not without its shortcomings. I've already detailed in a previous video some of those shortcomings. Basically, if I had to boil it down, I would say two big shortcomings, and that is, one, it's heavy. IWI liked to say that, particularly in the Gen 1 era, they claimed this polymer lower, you know, reduced weight. It absolutely didn't. There really was no reduction in weight. They added polymer, they didn't take away steel. They also added rails, which added weight. So, if anything, this is heavier than the classic Galils, and it's certainly heavy for a 5.56 NATO carbine. This one, kitted out, comes out a little over 9 pounds. So this is a 5.56 that weighs as much as an M1 Garand. You know, it's got a nice, smooth bolt. Mine still has, you know, some people in the Galil world like to say the Gen 1 had a heavy trigger. I'm sure it's heavier than the Gen 2, but it's still a good trigger nonetheless. Two-stage. IWI called it the Galil sniper trigger. I think they were trying to imply that it came from the Galat's designated marksman rifle. I'm not sure it actually did, but who knows. My Galil ACE has been outfitted with a Landtac Dragon muzzle brake, which sort of adds to the AK-12 or FSB Alpha AK-74 aesthetic. It also has a K&S gas piston to help smooth out the recoil impulse a little bit, which is, by the way, punchy. You would think for a 5.56 rifle that weighs as much as an M14 and one that has a big ass muzzle brake, pardon my French, it would be a soft shooter, but it's actually fairly punchy. It's punchier still with all that than an AR-15. But which I guess brings us to the elephant in the room. While you certainly can use the Galil as a sort of a go-to-war or self-defense or into the world as we know it rifle, I'm not sure why you necessarily would over a quality AR-15. The AR-15 is itself a very reliable rifle, noticeably lighter in weight, even though this one is absolutely not built with lightweight in mind. I've got an aim point comp in L2 and a magnifier, for goodness sake. So it's this is a fairly heavyweight version. Also government profile barrel. But even still, this is at least 1.5 pounds probably lighter than the other. The controls on the Galil ACE are actually quite good. The selector lever, instead of rotating like an AR-15, let's see here if I can do this. It slides here like that. It is technically ambidextrous because you have this, because you've got that little lever on that side as well. On mine, at least, and on the Gen 1 in general, I think, that right side lever is a little bit difficult to use. It's much easier to use the left side thumb lever. On the NATO variants like this one, you have this huge ambidextrous magazine catch, which I would say is even nicer than the one you find on an AR-15. And similarly, you've got this bolt catch, which is operated by the trigger finger, at least for right-handers. And I would say that is an upgrade over the bolt catch in an AR-15. But aside from that, I mean, there's better triggers available for the AR-15. Factory trigger, I'd say the Galil may be a slight bit better than a mil-spec AR-15, but it's comparable. I mean, they're sort of variations on a theme. There's plenty of countries that use the Galil ACE. The Galil ACE was developed in conjunction with IWI by Indomil in Colombia. And apparently there's some dispute as to who had more input. It seems like Indomil may have been really the driving force behind the Galil ACE versus IWI. But in addition to Colombia, which uses the Rock and Lock AK style magazine, that's used by Chile, where it's also produced under license. And Chile uses the NATO magazine version like this. The Chile version is almost identical to this. It's got a little bit shorter barrel and it uses the this handguard, but otherwise very similar. It's used by Vietnam in 7.62 by 39, though theirs is quite a bit of a departure from this pattern. It's found a decent amount of success, again, primarily in South America, interestingly enough. But very cool rifle. I enjoy shooting it. I'm not sure that this is the rifle I would necessarily grab first if, the zombie apocalypse, proverbially speaking, was to break out. I'll probably go for the AR-15, but I think it's just a little bit more versatile, and it's definitely more familiar to me, and there's more parts and accessories available. But it's definitely a cool rifle for what it is. In the past, there were all sorts of interesting rifles like the Daewoo's and the aforementioned FNCs and et cetera, et cetera. And I never really got on board with those. I did get on board with this. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, popularity of the IWI Galil ACE has really sort of taken off. This is a significantly more common rifle than, say, your Daewoo's or your SIG 550s, but it's so it doesn't have that cool collector cachet about it. But it, so far as a performer and as far as a user, I mean, you're going to find a lot more parts available for this, even though than say a Daewoo or a SIG 550. But yeah. That's really, I guess, about all I had to say. I was just sort of thinking about this rifle and how, in what role it plays in my collection. And really the best role it plays is as a sort of an ersatz version of about 10 or 15 other rifles that I wish I could own, but can't. So, you can look at this rifle as one of the best investments I ever made. If one was to try to go on a buying spree and buy all the rifles I like to use this in place of, he'd probably spend 20 grand easily. But so that's about all. Have a nice day.